Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. This is Winners and Losers. This week, I'm Gav, and with me I have got Matt and Davo. A limited Premier League fixture list over the weekend for some reason or other, but still plenty of winners and still plenty of losers to come out of it. Davo, how are you? Sporting the
Cool.
Dubs top tonight
Smarter
because
Dubs,
the
yeah. The
Dubs have
good
made
news
two,
yesterday,
yeah,
yeah.
two new
Two
free
big
signings.
signings. Two free transfers.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
big shout out to Joe Walsh as well, who's a Shelbourne man all his life. I read on,
yeah,
on Twitter
yeah.
yesterday, and Shells have got into the cup semi final. He's some spoofer, isn't he?
He's the best. He's the
Yeah,
absolute best.
Joe Walsh, Shells man all his life, as he proclaimed yesterday. But are you good, yeah?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah. Can't wait for Dave to come on, though. David.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's my fault. I typed Davo and it come up David on my phone, and I always double check them, and I didn't this time, and it got through the net.
In fairness, I forgot all about it, but Chris Prax was that to remind me there.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I didn't know. You messaged me saying I can't wait to see David later. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? And then I looked and went, for fuck's sake. But listen, David's all right, but that was way more sounder.
Yeah.
Matt, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's pity you had to limit this to just, football related, because there's a definite winner for the weekend. That was the Green Bay Packers, baby. Just absolutely putting the boots to the Bears last night. Exactly how the Bears deserve. So great NFL game this weekend.
We watched some sport over the weekend, and I watched a long service, didn't we? And we had a lovely time. Me and you had a 20-minute row about live golf right in the middle of the Bengals and Cowboys game. We just had a lovely time sitting, watching games together, and talking absolute shit. Like, we were talking stuff like, why do people in Dublin share stuff on Facebook when a dog has gone missing in LA? That sort of stuff. So if you want to watch if you want to watch,
gave us a full rundown on Clint Eastwood's girlfriends for the past 40 years. We found out that
it wasn't Clint Eastwood
at
all. It wasn't
least Flockhart.
Yeah, no. What happened was Clint Eastwood. I made the reference that Joe Biden could definitely play the main character in Gran Torino 2 if it ever came out, because Clint Eastwood's probably busy. And then we got to Clint Eastwood, and I just had this infatuation for about 20 minutes. And who does that guy go out with? Turns out I was thinking of Harrison Ford and Sylvester Flockhart, but that's how it went. So if you want to watch our watch-alongs, the link is somewhere. We'll find it for you, and we'll throw it out there. But
this is the sort of stuff you're in for.
Yeah, you're watching NFL. You're talking about Harrison Ford's girlfriend, and you're looking up stuff on Facebook where a woman in Dublin has shared that a dog has gone missing in LA. So that's basically
Look, you don't get that from Scott Hansen on Red Zone, so
no. So
you're already of a niche.
Yeah, so we're having the crack with it. It's good, and we'll keep going with it because we're having fun with it. But it is winners and losers. Matt has picked a winner and a loser. Davo has done the same. We're going to do this in about 56 minutes or so, and we're going to get out of here. That'll bring us to the hour, and we go from there. Davo, your winner of the week.
Yeah, my winner of the week is Son Hyun Min. Or Min.
Min
Is that the way you say it?
One of them.
Yeah, one of them. Son off Spurs. He's having a stinker of a time, wasn't he? He'd no goals in the first six, wasn't it? First six league games, no goals. Kind of a lot of noises and stuff like that. More from the fans. I seen a few things about fans because looking for him, when you have someone like Richarlison there, who's obviously in the Brazil team or on the fringes of the Brazil team, and you're not scoring goals, fans to get itchy. So they get antsy, and I just thought, like, he was dropped is probably a strong word, but listen, he was left out of side in the weekend for the Richarlison. Comes on when the game is kind of still in the melting pot and bangs in a hat trick, and half an hour he was on, wasn't he? He gets a hat trick, so I think Real probably shot in the arm for him, because he kind of strikes you as one of them players, that confidence kind of player, that them 6 games that he went without a goal, you'd say was probably affecting him, but to come on and get a hat trick off the benches, he'll do his confidence now bound. And again, Spurs probably not brilliant, but just finding a way. Like, look at when you can bring the likes of him off the bench. I think he's class. I think that there was obviously rumours about they didn't get the Champions League. That Klopp, I think there was rumours, wasn't there, if they didn't get Champions League, Klopp was interested. I'm the same. I think he's a brilliant player. He's a brilliant player, and I'd love to see him at Liverpool. It's obviously never going to happen. But he's my winner of the week after a horrendous start in the league, and then to come on and do that, it's I thought it was great from the other weekend.
When you bring in Richarlison, you're kind of looking going, you'll never get in the team ahead of Kulusevski or Son or Kane, and but yeah, Son doesn't have a great start to the season, but he's every time I see him, he's good. He's always busy. He's always looking to get behind the fences. He walks. But Davo, how big is it for Conte, where he goes, I've brought in Richarlison. Richarlison's been okay for us. Doesn't he get a couple in Europe? Does he get a couple in Europe or something like that?
Well, yeah, he's got a couple of goals, I think.
Yeah, but not only that, like Richarlison has been okay since he came in, but then you have Son, who's not been on great form, and you put him on the bench and he comes off and goes, bang, there's a hat-trick. Conte is absolutely rubbing his hands, isn't he?
Oh, look, a big time. And I think, really, I think the thing, I had a chat, mate of mine follows Spurs. I was just chatting to him the other day, and it's more, I think Son is kind of...
start with an R?
No.
All right, okay.
And it's kind of, what I was saying to him, they kind of Spurs remind me a bit of the Leicester team that won the league. Obviously, we were just better players. I know that sounds a bit mad because Leicester went and won the league, but you get what I'm saying. Like player for player, Spurs would have a lot more quality. But I think Spurs' downfall is if other teams give them the ball and sit in.
Yeah.
And I think that was what was hurting Son. Teams were kind of do that. Now, listen, I know Spurs have been getting the job done. Like obviously the home game against Wolves and stuff like that. I've seen bits of that, and it was they're not a great watch. It was a bad watch. Wolves kind of sat in two teams. Obviously, Kane gets the goal from a corner, and they win the game. But teams aren't giving Spurs, like on the run in last year when we were going to run in. I looked at that Spurs game as our hardest game by a million miles because they're set up to play us. We'll have the ball. They want the break. And I think teams have kind of copped onto them a little bit. They kept playing high and giving space in behind, and Son was struggling because teams were sitting in, no space to go in behind. And ultimately, he comes on, I think, at 3-2 when Leicester are chasing.
Yeah.
And then, look, Leicester are chasing, space in behind. He gets his hat-trick. So, I think it's kind of cause and effect and stuff like that. But look, it's obviously huge. Conte obviously saying 3-2, they're going to push on, space in behind. And... look, like you said there, manager brings a player on that hasn't scored a goal all season, gets a hat-trick. Like you said, he's fucking over the mill.
Yeah. John says Spurs play crap football. Over 38 games, they aren't doing anything. But Conte has won a league playing this sort of football with Chelsea in 16-17, whatever, right? Is it 16-17 he wins it? I think he is. The year after Leicester win. Yeah.
The year after Leicester's, yeah.
But... it's just the way Conte plays. Like it's not meant to be nice on the eye. But you're right. Giving them the ball and asking them to do something is where Spurs have the issue. Matt, Son is a brilliant footballer, and like how much does it show in his character that for the first time, like I know saying dropped, as Davo said, is a strong word to use, but it's the first time where you've kind of went, oh no, he is out of that team. Richarlison's in that team instead of him. As good a player he is, it's a lot of mental strength to sit on that bench and go, I'll just come on here and let's go. Because there's loads of players out there that have been regulars in teams, Matt, for ages and ages, and they get dropped and they throw a hissy fit and they don't score when they come on and it all kicks off, and 6 months down the road they're leaving the club.
Yeah, and Conte is also the kind of manager that gets an 11 nailed down that he can rely on, and he'll roll with that. And it looked at the start of the season when none of Spurs' new signings were getting into the team that he was going to take the guys that had been there and kind of build his go-to first 11 out of it. And then when Son, goes through a bit of a rough patch, because I'm like everybody likes Heung-min Son. I don't think there's anything to not like about him. Like the way he plays is super exciting. So the idea that he could hit a rough patch of form and then get on Conte's bad side and be kind of frozen out of the team, that was worrying because I want to see the guy do well. I mean, not that well, but, there's certain players you don't mind seeing have a good season sort of thing. Like Salah splitting the Golden Boot with him last year. It's way better than having to share it with Harry Kane. So it is good for him. And I think it has something to do with, like, he didn't explode onto the scene when he was a young kid. So it seems like he had to put in some hard yards, making the transition from playing in Korea and coming over to Europe on his own sort of thing. That he seems to have a good head on his shoulders. So, yeah, good for him.
John says, Gav, Conte's Chelsea didn't have to worry about this Man City. No, that's 100% correct. But I will say, Conte is very successful in the way he does things. And if you actually look, when he takes over last season, doesn't he? From Espirito Santo, he over the period of time where he has them in there, they've a great points return, and Spurs will look for me to flat track bully probably 14, 15 of the teams, 14 maybe the teams in this league, and in the other 6 they look to take their chances. You know, they get a draw away at Chelsea. Now people have said they haven't played many big games this season, but I suppose when they come up against the likes of Liverpool and don't think they played Arsenal yet. City,
Next, Arsenal's the next.
Arsenal's next. City, even United or wherever it might be, you'll see a bit what they're made of, because I think he's alright. I think a few of those teams will go, here, you have it, and we'll do it to you, because Spurs are very, very dangerous if you sit back or if you go against them or go at them, and they have that out balls now in Son, Richarlison, Kane, Kulusevski. They're much stronger in the middle of midfield, I think, with the signings they've made as well. So it'll be interesting to see. We're going to move on though. We're going to go to Matt's loser. Matt, your loser of the week.
My loser of the week is some of the higher touted forwards in the Premier League this year that are just having a tough time getting the ball in the back of the net. If you look at some of the goals for, besides some of the teams down in the bottom half of the table, there's some pretty low numbers there. Like, you're seeing some teams that are on a goal a game, maybe just a little bit better than a goal a game, and that's relegation form. Like, that's pretty worrying levels of goal scoring. And we're almost 25% of the way through the season, so you can actually start to form a few opinions now. It's not like after you watch the opening game week, you can't really say much about it. But like, we're getting a fair way into the season, and I mean, the worst has to be like West Ham and Wolves. If you look at their players on paper, you look at Wolves, they got Pedro Neto, no goals. Gonzalo Guedes, no goals. Wang Hee-chan, no goals. New boy Matthias Nunes, no goals. Moutinho, no goals. Jimenez, no goals. Greasy Adama, barely played. And of course, he hasn't scored any goals. Like, Daniel Podence has 2 of their 3 goals. They scored 3 goals in 7 games. That's really worrying. But when you look at those players on paper, it's the same with West Ham. Benrahma, Bowen, Scamacca, Cornet, Lanzini, Paqueta, no goals between all of those players. Antonio has 1, Fornals has 1. Like, there's going to be a serious lack of goals, I think, in some of those teams that are in the 14th to 18th, 19th range. Bournemouth is going to get cut adrift eventually, sooner or later, I'd imagine. But there's some good teams on paper there, and there's not a lot of goals being scored. The outlier to that is Leicester, who we will get onto, who have just an appalling defense. But like, even Liverpool, like, you look at some of the top teams, Ronaldo hasn't scored, Mount, Pulisic, Gallagher, Broya, Ziyech, Bruno Guimaraes, no goals. So it's not good for the guys selling their shooting boots.
It's mad when you list all those names and there's no goals beside them. And I suppose when you look at, like, West Ham is probably the interesting one for me. Wolves don't score an awful lot of goals. I think if you look back last season, they may be one of the lowest scorers in the league last season, but they conceded very little. They've gone from a back 5 to a back 4 this season, and I don't know how much more solid they're looking, but usually when you change the system, you're looking to be as solid because that's what they were. But by doing 5 into 4, you're probably looking to get more up the top end of the pitch, and they're just not getting it. But that's the way Wolves are. They don't score a hell of a lot, and they don't concede an awful lot. West Ham, though, when you look at Fornals, you look at Lanzini, Benrahma, Bowen, Antonio, you've brought in Scamacca. They had a great season last season in the league and in Europe. And you're expecting to kick on, or at least hold a level while players coming in are trying to acclimatise to what they're doing. But they look to me like they're trying to change things a bit too quick for me, West Ham, with some of the players coming in and the way they're trying to do things. But the lack of goals is concerning for a lot of them. Forest, a lack of goals maybe, but conceding
Everton
3 at home.
Scored 5 goals.
Yeah, Everton have drawn 4 of their first 7, I think, and have 5 goals in 7 games. But Davo, is it just one of those where teams in the league are just saying, instead of going out and trying to win games, they're looking and saying to themselves, "Don't lose. So they're coming out to look a lot more solid as they can, because I think there's probably 7 or 8 teams down there that you could genuinely say could go down.
Oh, listen, I think the alarming thing for all them teams down there is how good Fulham have been. They would have been nailed on as kind of relegation fodder, I'd imagine. They're scoring lots of goals. They conceding a couple. They're conceding some as well. Like they're not clean sheet merchants, but they're kind of right up there in the upper echelons at the minute. Now, obviously, they'll drop down a little bit, but yeah, your point about so many, I think is. See, I think the likes of West Ham, like they had it with that chap that went to Dortmund there that got diagnosed with Haller, yeah. They went and spunked a load of money on him. Didn't work. Yeah. After spunking a load of money on this fella Scamacca, I haven't seen a lot of him.
He's got a few in Europe.
Yeah, so I don't know. He could be decent. But so they're obviously, like, they're trying to get down a road where they can get more goals in. But ultimately, when Antonio was on song for them and Bowen, that's when they get their goals. The Villa game the other night was absolutely deplorable, but they got a win. I do think you're right. I think it's going to be a season where 7 or 8 are going to be looking over their shoulder constantly, because
it's just because of the lack of goals.
Yeah, like a severe lack of goals. Like it's mad.
It means if you look at it, you have goals this year.
But if you look at it, right. Well, we get on to Leicester because I think they're in serious trouble, and it's not only down to their manager; he's a huge part. But I think, I think that they could be in serious trouble, right? But Forest, you could argue, right, brought in loads of players. Now it's overcooked a little bit because they had so many players on loan last season that they had no players left after the season ended. They had to bring in a load of players. West Ham, they probably have the firepower to get out of it, but if you get into a rut. And like you say, in 2 games' time, we're 25% of the way into the season. Just about, right? Wolves don't score an awful lot. They've 6 points from 7 games, right? Palace could be all right. Villa aren't scoring an awful lot. Southampton, Everton, Bournemouth have 8 points at the minute, but that you'll expect them to drop. And if you look at it there, that's 8 teams down there where Leeds will probably score enough. But you know when you usually go into a season and you say to yourself, 3 came up, 2 of them, they'll probably go down, and you pick maybe 2 more or 3 more where you go 3 from that 5. You could genuinely say 3 from 8, and it'll probably come down to who actually starts scoring goals. But when you look at the makeup of those sides, can they score them without conceding them? Because Forest try score and concede a lot. Everton don't try score but don't concede an awful lot. It's
Everton are obviously missing Calvert-Lewin big time, but his injury profile is very poor now. Wolves, like you mentioned, Wolves have been tracking like this for probably about 3 years. They don't score goals. They have that back 3 tight games, probably never lose by, or very rarely lose by more than a goal. They're always in a game. Like Gerrard, I feel it is struggling to get the balance to find his best side, so they're not scoring goals. West Ham are obviously having issues at the minute. We're seeing West Ham players giving out about, or West Ham fans already giving out about the balance of the team. It's all wrong that they think. I haven't seen much of them. So I think Palace will be fine. I think Vieira is on his way to being a very good manager. I think they'll be all right. Fulham, obviously the outliers, banging goals in, well up the table. Forest, like you said, scored them, but Jesus Christ, they're absolutely leaking goals. But they had to sign all them players. Yeah. So it's like there's a lot of teams kind of at Southampton. Like I don't know how they get out of relegation trouble every year, but they do, because they look like they've nothing. Now they've been a bit more exciting this year. They've signed some young players, so look a bit more exciting. But that game Friday night was fucking rip your telly off the wall and throw it out the window stuff. It was fucking deplorable. But look at Villa be delighted they got the win. So yeah, look, it's certainly interesting now on that end, Ari.
Yeah, and like even like this is shouting Kevin. Even to say this early is mad, right? Any side now putting back-to-back wins together will make the table look very different. Confidence is a massive part of it, but that's something you usually say after like 30 games, isn't it? Where you say, if a team down there can just put 1 or 2 wins together,
or you say about the championship.
Yeah,
1 or 2 wins and you're right up there.
Yeah, and that's where it's feeling for me already. Like, and when Matt brought this up, and he was saying like lack of goals, I was like, yeah, okay. And somebody else said there like limited pre-season means limited time to patterns of play, players coming in a condensed period of time, and it's hard to get them going. But I just feel like, do you know when you have like Liverpool and City and you feel like the run-in is like 38 games long, right? If the run-in isn't 10 games anymore. And like Arsenal are up there right now, and credit to them, they've been excellent. Although their first big test, I think they failed it miserably at United. You look at City, or just City, and they've literally a fella up front that they don't even want to play with. They just keep giving him the ball to put it in the net. He's not having any other say in any games. Liverpool have been slow to start, but at the end of the day, win their game in hand. They're 6 points off the top this early. And you kind of say to yourself, just stay with it. Whereas in previous seasons, you're going, if you drop a point, and or City drops a point, or we drop a point, you know, it's fucking, the arse is falling out of it. And you're kind of looking at the league after 30 going, who's down the bottom? What's happening there? But now, I think you could be 10, 12 games in, and you could be going, them 8 are going to get cut adrift here. This could be an absolute scrap. And I think I read Steve says credit to Arteta. Yeah, absolutely. They've been excellent. But I think the lack of goals, we're talking about it now when we're in September, I think come February, March, you could be looking going, they just have not scored enough goals. And if they are scoring goals, they're conceding too many, because I think there's loads of these teams that are set up to not concede. And if they go and try win games of football, they concede at the other end. So it's a massive balancing act, I think a lot of them have down there. Matt, your winner. What is it?
Well, it kind of ties in with this, because if you take the Bournemouth game out of our goal scoring for the season, we've scored 6 in 5 league games. If you take out the 9 against Bournemouth, it's not great. Like, we're not banging the goals in for fun. So I honestly think that the death of the Queen may have saved our season. I think we were at a crucial point after that Napoli game where we had taken a big blow to the chin. And we needed time to, like, you know, when a fighter gets hit right at the end of a round and they can just kind of stumble back and go sit down for their in between rounds 30 seconds and get their head cleared up, as opposed to having to be back out there for another minute. Just the time off. Like, I hate it when Liverpool don't play. I hate it. I love watching this team play, and I couldn't have been happier that our games got canceled, because I think it's come at a perfect time. We're getting players back from, you know, injury breaks. You saw the difference that just having 3 guys back from injury made against Ajax. We had 1 in defense, 1 in midfield, 1 in attack, and they were our better players in those 3 phases of the field. You know, they were easily the best players, I would say, in Matip and Thiago's case, in the midfield and the defense. But like, it allows us to send Arthur to the 21s with Fabio Carvalho and just have a closed door game just to get some match fitness into their legs. They're out on the training pitch that much more. Like, you know, you hear about when they play this condensed schedule where they say, like, there's no time for training. You have a match day, and then you have a match day -1, which is just pure recovery. And then you're building up for the next match day. Like, you don't really have time to try to work on organization. And now we've had that time. So, like, I was really buoyed by the performance of the team against Ajax, and couldn't have been happier that our 2 league games were canceled and we get this 3-week period, because not a ton of our guys are going away on international break. You know, we'll be able to, especially our midfielders, we'll be able to keep them at home, get that cohesion back into our midfield, get a few of those guys that are a little bit further on the fringe coming back from injury, just back into the fold. And we're going to have 3 preseasons effectively before Christmas time.
Yeah.
You know, 1 before the season, this one with the Queen's break and the international break, and then the one for the World Cup. So I'm really hoping that we can take advantage of this.
Davo, Liverpool haven't been good this season. You know, Fulham opening day of the season weren't good, could have won it. Palace were okay. United appalling. They bashed Bournemouth. You know, the Napoli stuff is fucking madness. But do you agree with Matt? Because I do, to a point. I think this break is huge for us. Not only to get players back from injury or get players up to speed, because I think a few of them, and I keep saying I think a few of them, they have looked lethargic in what they're doing. How I think it's big. I think it's a big thing, and I think time will only tell when we go to play Brighton as our first game back, I think. But is it something Liverpool needed? Is it something where Liverpool needed just a reset button this early to say, hold on, We have to park that now. These are coming back. Players looking with familiar faces around them a bit more. Start to play their own game again, and we're not as leggy or lethargic, and we've more options and stuff like that. How big is it? Are we overcooking this? Because it could be egg on the face come Brighton in whatever it is.
Yeah, look,
10, 12 days time.
Like you said, proof would be in the pudding when you go back. But I think it could be. Listen, I think the Ajax win was huge. I do. I think that was a big win, especially after what happened in Napoli. Not only for the Champions League route, but for going forward. Like you mentioned, the games, like the United game, probably could have got something out of it. We probably could have got something out of every game, bar in Naples. Hit the woodwork a few times and whatnot, but we haven't been good. We've been grinding it out. It's been lethargic. It's been slow. It's been hard to watch. The quality hasn't really been there, but the heart has been there. We've stayed into the end. The Newcastle game, the Ajax game, digging out wins. And I think after the Ajax game, if you ask the players, they probably would say to you, "Yeah, we want to play again Sunday." So I think it could be a subconscious thing that maybe they do need a bit of a break. That players will always tell you they want to play, but this couple of weeks that they've had off, with a block of training and probably some rest thrown in as well, and all that. I think it can only help. I really do. I think it can only help. And going forward to the Brighton game, listen, there's no point in having this block of 2 weeks we had off to get training done and stuff like that. If someone comes back, some big player comes back injured from international break, the international break is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
That we get all the bodies back in decent enough shape.
Yeah. And
I think if we do, I think things are looking up, and I'd probably expect us to go and beat Brighton, to be honest with you, and kind of start getting the show back in the row, because the league is a bit mad. We've asking many games have gone set. We're 6 for us, 7
for most. Yeah,
they've City have dropped 4 points. They lost against Spurs to start last opening
day last season.
Opening day, yeah. They don't if you ask me, would City drop 4 points in the first 7 games, I would have said no chance. If you said, will Liverpool drop 9 in the first 6, I would have went, no.
Yeah.
But we don't know what's going to happen this year because of this mad World Cup and look, a couple of our big lads aren't going. So again, look, it just feels like international football is going to have a big burden on this season, and if you can get the bodies back, I'd be confident of us kicking on, because look, we're not that far away.
For me, it's a couple of things. It's like the likes of Henderson will be back, Kanate be back, Jota will have more time in his legs, Thiago as well. Arthur Melo is of course doing that game's 21's game.
Naby will be back.
Naby will be back, but he's not allowed to play because he haven't registered him for anything. But you look at even Carvalho, who picked up an injury, didn't he? He picked
dead
up
leg,
something in the derby, and then he missed an
Napoli
game, but he's back playing. And that's all being put up as an argument about all these players missing and players kind of coming in and out and whatever it might be, as being put up as a bit of an excuse for Liverpool. And some of it might be valid, some of it I think is not. There should be games you're winning. You should be winning games of football, especially the ones where we've dropped points, in my opinion, Manchester United included. But getting all those back is absolutely fine. But that's when the season really needs to start, and Liverpool need to show what they are, because like you said, if everyone comes back, if you get one injured coming back, you go, for fuck's sake. But we can't keep this thing where one player's injured or one player's injured. If we turn back up for Brighton and everyone, I don't know if Henderson will make it, but if the 24 or the 25 are fit, they've had a nice break. Some of them are on international duty, but they're used to that, and they come back and we've had time on the training pitch and all. If we come back and we're still playing the same sort of way and tempo that we have in a lot of our league games, you turn around and go, well, hold on, is there something deeper here? Because they've been given all the tools really over the last 2 weeks to improve stuff, both on the mental side of the game, physical side of the game, just patterns of play, whatever it might be. But it'll be telling. And somebody says there, like 9 games next month. Kieran says that 9 games next month, we'll have more options through that tough month. It's a tough month for everyone. It is, and I think we play Arsenal, City, and stuff like that in next month as well. But I think the telling
with a bit of luck with the internationals, Gav, is that it's like even the ones that are going away, like Allison mightn't play because there's obviously Edison there, and there's the Weverton, the homegrown keeper that your man gives time to. Southgate has 49 right backs in the squad. Trent might only play bits and bobs. Obviously, Matip doesn't go. Kanate is injured. Van Dijk will. Robertson's not going. He's injured. Thiago didn't get in the squad. Fabinho doesn't play for Brazil or isn't forced choice. Now, again, listen, this could be the one for the fringe players where the manager's having a look. So Fabinho could play a couple of games. Firmino I think he's in because he's the closest thing to the way Brazil play for the false nine with Neymar. He's not nailed on to go, but he's in this squad. And the front three are obviously the rest, Jota, Salah, and Diaz are obviously gone as well. So it's not as if the lads are going and they're going to be hammered for the international break. So that's one way I'm kind of looking at it. That, listen, our lads mightn't get flogged. They might not get flogged on their way for a couple of games.
Reclaimer says people are saying Arsenal failed their only test they have, but Liverpool have failed in 4 from the 6 games so far this season. Gunners are playing much better. Yeah, I understand that, but I think Arsenal are probably playing near their peak, and I don't think Liverpool are anywhere near that. That's the only argument.
And Arsenal have only used about 13 different starting players.
Yeah, he's been fairly consistent.
They've had almost the exact team.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he's doing the right thing. I think he's sticking with those players that are winning games. But I think what's telling as well is that Van Dijk interview after that Ajax game is telling for me. Because he makes a point of coming out and saying, look, yeah, we go through tough times. Yeah, things happen. But he's making all of this stuff out to be something that it's possibly not. But at the same time, he was kind of going, yeah, we haven't been good enough. He's very honest in it. But at the same time, he's kind of going, yeah, you haven't been good enough, but stop overblowing it, and nearly taking responsibility for what's going on. I like that. He's taking responsibility, saying, listen, you mind your own fucking business for a minute. We'll sort it out. We haven't been good enough. Leave us to it. And I think that's been quite telling, because that's where I'm kind of pinning me hopes on Brighton and beyond, where they come out and they go, haven't been good enough. Excuses are over. Any leeway we have now is over. Players are back and stuff like that. And hopefully, it serves us well over what's going to be a mental October, mental.
It can't get a lot worse, can it? We can't come back from the international break worse than we can't possibly. I just refuse to believe that. But it's entirely possible that we've had our injury crisis for the season now. There was a point where we had, I think, 10 players who were in and around the first team. You looked at our players that were out on injured, and you would have fielded a pretty decent 11 that could have played, in the Premier League. And we're getting most, if not all, of those players back. And it's entirely possible that Arsenal has an injury crisis, that City have an injury crisis. It's just the way that injuries go. We've suffered from it badly at the start of this season, so have a couple of other teams. And it's going to be somebody else's turn to take their medicine eventually. So,
Right. Davo, your loser of the week, please.
Brendan Rodgers. I know he was kind of done, wasn't he, last week?
Yeah. We've lashed through the 4 weeks. We just want to get to this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just a different kind of angle. I could come on here and say he's shite and this, that, and the other. Listen,
I'll do that in a minute.
He's capable and whatnot. But just kind of listening to some stuff today, and it turns out that Brighton, he was mentioned in the Brighton boardroom as the successor to Potter, and they decided not even to contact Leicester, who would have been very happy, by all accounts, the reason to do a deal with the Brighton to release Rodgers, because apparently, by all accounts, the reason is he's still there, is that he's owed 10 million quid if they sack him, and they're struggling for Davo. They're struggling to be financial fair play, Leicester, and handing him 10 million quid won't be good enough. If
20 million is the rumour.
Well, it was whatever I was listening to today. It was 10, right? But anyway, they give him a wad if they sack him. If he was to agree to mutual consent, he'd be gone over the weekend. I'm not sure that's going to happen. But the most alarming thing I just felt was that for a fella who was linked with an awful lot of jobs, the likes of Spurs, Arsenal at times,
United.
bigger jobs, like Brighton and Hove Albion. Decided not to pursue Brendan Rodgers when they needed a manager, and they went with De Zerbi. And I think his stock is absolutely plummeting. And I think he needs to I wouldn't say he's short at though. And
No.
I think he needs to. I think for his career, taking a mutual consent here might be a good thing rather than that stock to keep plumbing, because them players aren't playing for him. Defensively, they are not playing for him at all. And I know, listen, Kev was talking about the owners, yeah, fair. That not much money is being put in, but by all accounts, it's a financial fair play thing, and they're struggling to do something over it. Maybe they could be doing more, that they've been shocking at doing it, whoever's there looking at the football side and the financial side. But I really do think the way his stock is plummeting, like he might be as well to say, yeah, look, at shake hands, we'll go our separate ways.
Well, if they fire him, he's all 20. The rumour is 20 million quid, right? Mutual consent, he could probably get half of that. You know, there's half the money, mutual consent, and out you go. But I think he's at the stage where he doesn't care. And I'll tell you why. Because he's tried to talk himself into a couple of jobs. Do you remember when he was at Leicester about 6 months, and the Arsenal job or the Spurs, one of them come up, and he was literally doing interviews after Leicester games, you know, putting himself up there for these jobs, right? Where does he go? Because your stock can plummet in a job, but if you're out of a job for long enough, your stock plummets even more, because people are going, "Who? I remember, yeah, he was manager a couple of years ago. Nah, fuck that. You know, the game's probably passed him by." And I think he's cornered himself a little bit. He should have left Leicester at the end of last season. That's what he should have done. He should have made waves with Leicester and said, "Listen, I'll take X amount, whatever it might be, a nominal amount of money to go," because he could have been in line for a couple of jobs then. He could have been in line for that Chelsea job off it. You know what I mean? He could have been in line for better jobs, but right now, like Liverpool, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, West Ham, if you want to take away from the fact that West Ham fans are going mad, they're all locked in. Where does he go? Like Davo, where, like he loses that job, he probably has to stay out for another. If he wants anything up there, you're probably looking at another year at least. He's snookered himself, and I think his own pride has done it to him, Davo.
Yeah, look, like he's always been ambitious, and like you said, he's always fond of chatting about jobs that he likes and whatnot. He was quick to listen. He done everything up at Celtic that he could do. He wanted the Leicester job. He won them an FA Cup. They'll be over the moon with that. I don't think the fans are happy at all. I think the majority of fans want them gone now, and it's not that far a move from their FA Cup win. Listen, in England, boys, listen, he's obviously a fluent Spanish speaker. He could go to La Liga and get a fairly big job there, bar the big two, obviously, or big three. I would imagine the likes of it. For him now in England, if it was to go pear-shaped now, I think he'd be more looking at kind of the big club rather than the club that's up and challenging him, looking at a Newcastle and Aston Villa, a West Ham, something like that. Yeah. That's where I think he kind of end up, that kind of job, where they're a big club, big stadiums, big fan bases, good history when you're looking at the likes of Villa. But I think that's his lot really in England, and I think he'll end up going for him probably.
Matt, just on the other side of it, away from his future, if he doesn't go, because we spoke to a Leicester fan going back towards this, it was during the transfer window. The season may have started, but the window wasn't closed. And what he was saying was that the amount of players Leicester have is the issue. They couldn't get rid of enough players to bring some in. And in doing so, you know, even if they brought in 4 really good players for the first team, they were paying a lot of money to other players that wouldn't play, weren't moving because of their contracts, and would be an issue financially. The talk was the money was there, but I don't know. There's varying stuff now about like Davo says, FFP and stuff like that. But just on the other side of it, if he doesn't go, right, if they're that stuck that they can't give him the money and they can't get him to agree to a mutual termination, which I think his pride may actually keep him at the club, you know, just going on previous with him. Does he keep them up? Does he get them any better? Because I think Davo's right. I don't think the goalkeeper they have in goal is just looks like he hasn't played football in 3 years, 4 years.
Right? Bomb scared he
right?
is.
You look at the defence. You look at the defenders they have, and you're kind of going, they're just not organised. Are the attackers having any influence? No. And the midfield just looks open and not really hard working. When you looked at going back a year ago, you had Dewsbury Hall really highly rated. Daka, Vardy had always threatened you. Harvey Barnes was 50, 60 million a year ago. Has he completely lost them? And he's stuck with them and they're stuck with him.
It's almost like the squad situation at Leicester is kind of mirroring Wolves from a couple of years ago, where, you know, they could have cashed in on some players. You know, you could have sold Raul Jimenez, you could have sold Ruben Neves and stuff like that for 50, 60 million. But instead you kept on with them and their form is kind of flagged off a bit. This year's the answer to the question of when does Jamie Vardy's legs finally fall off, it seems like. I've been calling it basically since the year they won the league, of like, he can't keep doing it. Guy drinks 12 Red Bulls a day. Like, how is it possible that he's still performing at this level and he's just not anymore? But like, can Rodgers put Sterling at wing back maybe and, you know, do something crazy with the formation? Like, I don't know, because like on paper, like, I like Tielemans. I would have been happy had we signed him. James Maddison's got a lot of Coutinho about him. Doesn't seem to do much defensively or for the shape of the team, but he can hit an absolute banger. And yeah, Patson Daka, you know, he was good when he played for Salzburg against us in the Champions League. And it was one of those signings they made last year of like, hey, that could be a pretty astute little signing right there. But they're just not clicking. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the manager. Like, I don't see, so like, I've been doing a little bit of poking around on the Leicester City subreddit and just seeing of like, what's the prevailing wind like? And in the last month, it's changed to almost 100%. Rodgers should have been gone last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, there's nobody. All you're seeing is people saying like, I was Rodgers in for the longest time, but now he has to go. Like, so I just looked at the payout table for the Premier League. The difference in cash prize you get for finishing 17th versus finishing in 8th is £20 million. So there's about $2 million for every spot you move up that table. So even if his payout is $20 million, 3, 4, 5 spots in the table, that pays for at least half of that sort of thing. Like, it seems they need to pull the trigger on him now. And I was seeing people that were saying that it was just the Queen's funeral, that come tomorrow or maybe Wednesday at the latest, that he'll get the bullet in the back of the head and they can bring in a new manager, because their fans are going, why aren't we doing this now? We've got an international window. Not a lot of our players are gone on international duty. We could bring the new guy in and kind of drill them. But their first game back is at home to Nottingham Forest. So you get people going like, oh, you can't put a new manager in for, you know, the big rivalry game sort of thing. But I don't know, because I've watched 3, 4 Leicester games this year and they're just not good.
I think I think Leicester fans might be hanging on to the fact that these players have form for this, right? Leicester players have had managers sacked in the past by just downing tools. They've done it,
but they don't have form for a relegation fight. I don't think this team has it in them.
But what I would say is, and going back to Kev's point, if you get someone in, and I think the players do change, I think them players look tired of him. You know, like even like Kev says there, fellas on the far post for corners. It's so blatantly obvious. It just looks like he's got tired of what he's doing, and because the spoofing has only got him so far, and he can't get any further. And the players are looking, going, I'm not listening to this fella anymore. And they can change like that, because Leicester did do that. Leicester under, wasn't it the guy that managed Southampton? Do you remember the guy that managed Southampton and he ended up at...
Puel?
Yeah, Claude Puel. And he just stopped playing. And he just stopped playing for him. And he got sacked and he came back, and next while Leicester were like fucking Brazil. You know, and I think if they want to stay in this... I genuinely think if you left Rodgers there at the end of the season, they'll get relegated. Because I don't think they want anything to do with him. And part of me thinks he doesn't want anything to do with them, but they're kind of rocking a hard place.
Do you know what? Sorry, Gavin.
No, go on.
The issue with that is, right, is he could end up staying due to the financial aspect of it. And then what you need there is you need a strong board. And it's like every aspect the club needs to realise, right, he's not going anywhere. We are where we are, and we have to get ourselves out of it. Because if not, you're going to have a manager with a relegation on a CV, a club that won the league that have gone down, which all the financial ramifications that come to that, and then a group of players that will have a relegation on their CV, and they'll be all scrambling to get out of the club. So It was a little bit similar to Southampton. Now the difference was Hasenhüttl wasn't long in the door. I think it might have been after one of the 9-0s
against
and
Leicester.
I think against Leicester probably. And a couple of the players were letting be known, we don't really fancy this fella. And they were told by the board, he's staying. So sorted out. He's staying no matter what. So if you want to fuck around and get relegated, that's on you. Southampton players booked up. But if something like that can happen at Leicester where the players all look at each other and go, right, listen, he's staying. We need to get our fucking arses in gear because we don't want to get down. So unless that happens. But I do agree with you, it'd probably be gone stale there and they're not listening to him. Now he has brought in some set piece coach, and from looking at him the last while, he'd be the hardest working fucking man in European football, I'd say. But he's only recently appointed because the camera kept going to him every time they fucking conceded the corner against Spurs on Saturday.
Thor says, by the way, I remember them Leicester fans from for over the last few seasons. Yeah, that's a great point. If you go down, it's no skin off our nose because they're appalling.
But I just one thing. Yeah, I saw somebody said that the Leicester owners might have done a little Barcelona style deal with their future TV revenues.
Okay.
And kind of leveraged against future earnings. So like if that's, I have no idea whether that's true or not. I saw it on the internet, so I'm just going to presume it is. If that's the case, they cannot flirt with going down. Because it was a Leeds fan that mentioned it, and he's like, "Holy shit, man! I've seen this movie before.
Yeah,
like you guys were so close to getting into Europe, and then it all fell apart real quick, and it could take a while to come back up. So, like, if they've leveraged their future earnings on staying in the Premier League, and they don't, like, adios Leicester.
Yeah, and you'd wonder as well if any of these players have relegation clauses because Allison says Allison says they should have sold Maddison and Tielemans in the last 2 seasons. They gambled on top 4 by not selling anyone in 2021. It failed, and that was always Leicester's blueprint. Even when they won leagues, they sold. Not leagues, the league. They sold, Mahrez. They sold Kante. They've sold big players, Harry Maguire, for a lot of money. But they always seem to. That was always their buffer. Sell one, we'll keep improving, but that money was always a little buffer there for them. And it just seems over the last little while they haven't done that. Now, Fofana has gone for fucking colossal money, but that's probably making up for the last.
Listen, I'm sure
2 or 3 windows.
I'm sure they thought there was bids going to come in maybe from Maddison and Tielemans. Listen, Tielemans, it would have been 2 years ago because everyone's at that continent on now that he's an absolute fucking hamburger and he can't move. So I don't think any of the top teams going near him. He was absolutely blown out of his hole after about 15 minutes of the Spurs game.
Yeah.
He cannot fucking move. Can't move.
Let's just presume that he does go. Let's presume he does go. Today is Monday. He could be sacked by Wednesday or Thursday if they came to an agreement. Who goes into that job? Because you have got a squad there that I think could just turn on their head very quickly because I think we've seen it before. But the bottom of the league after 7 games with 1 point, somebody did say they have a good, nice run of fixtures coming up, which is fair enough.
Yeah, the next 4 are all right, yeah.
But who would you look to bring in there? Because you have to, first and foremost, like you could come in with an idealistic appointment where you go, he plays amazing football, but you're going, we're bottom of the league with 1 point. And we're there for a reason. This squad, as much as they might be able to flip it on its head, they're still only on 1 point after 7 games. But who should they look to bring in? Because I think it's a hard appointment. Not only to get right, but to convince somebody. I think it's going to be a convincing job for someone. Davo, you can shout these ones if you have a name.
I'd like to see him just do a Yankee swap with West Ham and just swap Moyes and Rodgers around.
Okay.
To me, that seems like the logical, because they both could lose their jobs at about the same time. Like the first one could still be out of work when the second one goes. And it could just be like how Dean Smith got sacked by Villa and just went straight to Norwich last year. Mm-hmm. I could see something like that happening. And David Moyes seems like the type of manager that wouldn't let a team down tools on him. Like he seems like he's got enough of the man management about him, good old boy thing. Johnny Evans is there to help him out, sort of, to get that team rallying behind him. If they keep waiting, if they wait any longer and it gets closer to the World Cup and they're still down in that zone, like Allardyce is out of the game, Hodgson's out of the game, it's got to be Sean Dyche.
Well, James Milne says that Leicester are looking at the Brentford manager. Somebody's
never gonna
mentioned.
happen.
Somebody's mentioned Rafa. Sean Dyche has got a mention. But Davo, they need to bring somebody in where they go, listen, he's coming in to make sure we don't go down before
Dyche should be the one then, wouldn't it? Look, listen, if they get Thomas Frank out of Brentford, that would be good. But again,
Celtic manager has been mentioned as well.
He's not.
Postecoglou's going nowhere.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. Not for a while anyway. I think he will eventually.
Got beaten at the weekend. Paulin.
Fucking let me down for £255. The shite bags. Yeah.
That's what you get for
and you know I don't like them anyway.
No, you don't. You love laughing at Celtic. Don't.
Yeah. They got their own back at me the weekend. But no, listen, it has to be. It has to be Dyche as kind of a firefighting thing. Someone needs to go in there.
But is Dyche going to take that job where he knows it's just a firefighting thing, and at the end of the season he's gone? Is Dyche doing something like that?
He will if he's getting a fucking about 15 million quid golden handshake if they stay up.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, they need someone to go in there and stop the goals. Like they need to shore up. They can't. Like Danny Ward would make a goalkeeper's cousin. They need to scour that transfer market for a keeper that is out of contract somehow, is a free agent somewhere, because they can't keep going with him. He's absolutely brutal.
Yeah. And
they're going to need to just shore it up and go back to maybe the way they played when they won the league. Just sit back and try and hit teams on the break, because they've plenty of pace around the place. I really like your man Harvey Barnes, but he's playing with his confidence is so low looking at him playing. There's some quality there, like they have some quality there. They just can't defend. Yeah. So they need to get someone in. It was a bit of a mulligar and used to that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I think it's a difficult one, because I think his pride will keep him there, and sack me so I can get me money will keep him there. But part of it, again, I think he'd be looking going, if I get sacked here and there's not much pickings around, he could be left treading water for a long time, waiting for a job to come up. But then again, you mentioned Villa, and Gerrard gets a win, but I think Gerrard looks to me like a man that's under massive pressure, even by his reaction at the game the other night. But we'll have to wait and see. We're going to leave it at that. We've done so well, 52 minutes, and we did say an hour or less.
That must be the fucking quickest ever.
Well, I always do that for you, Davo, because I know you're up a fucking half hour.
I know.
And
great.
I am great. I'm the best boy, Davo.
Best boy.
But look, before we go, Bobby's Wish to Walk is absolutely flying. I looked at it the other day, and I want to say that they're just flying along. I don't have the total at the minute. 140. It's gone over 140 now, so we're down to the last 10 grand, which is absolutely brilliant. We seem to be coming on here every week and going, it's 13 now, or 16 now, it's 13 now, it's 10. So on this trajectory, we should get there in the next. When I say we're just part of it, in the next 3-4 weeks, hopefully. But look, the link is in the description. If you want to go in there and donate, please do so, because as Kev always says, the fivers and the tenors that are given will get them there. If enough people do that, that's what gets them there. That's what ticks it over all the time. And there's been brilliant, charitable works by people and events organised over the last couple of weeks that I've seen from. And he is going to get to that 150k. But if you can help us, the link is in the description. And if you take that link and share it amongst your friends, your family, your colleagues, wherever it might be, that'd be absolutely brilliant, because we've stopped you having the ability to give money to this channel in the hope that if you wanted to give us money towards the running of the channel or the bills that we have to pay, that you don't. You turn around and you give it to Bobby instead. So, hopefully that works. I've forgotten the ads tonight because I'm setting them all up.
Do you want me to read them as fast as possible?
Do you want to do the ads? Don't do them as fast as possible. Read them properly. Did I give you the third one?
No, you might have to do the third one.
I'll tell you what. Let's not do them, because I don't have them lined up properly. They will start from tomorrow for the rest of the week. Tomorrow we have got a quiz. Matt has been given a second chance at life by organising an LFC quiz.
I got drunk
Premier
on
League
power
quiz.
last night.
It is interactive. You will get a link tomorrow that you can join in and play on your phone. Wednesday night is all about Luis Suarez. So the life and times of Luis Suarez is on Wednesday night with myself, Phil, Shawnee and Keith. That's Wednesday night. Thursday, Friday, we're not too sure, because still no bleeding football on, so we might throw in something else there as well. But at the end of the week, we'll try to keep you going, and of course, all them shows will have the ads on them. All 3 ads this week as well. Matt, anything else before we go?
No, nothing. I got to do some final revisions on the quiz here, and I'm aiming for 50%. I think everybody should be aiming to get about 50% on this one. So
Okay.
a huge upgrade.
Davo, the last time Matt organised the quiz, it was like, can you tell me how many times Fabio Aurelio touched the ball with his right foot in the 08-09 season? That was the standard of the question. So he's under pressure here, isn't he?
Oh, he is, yeah. But listen, come here. Trippers quizzes. Remember the sponsor jerseys and you had the wrong answers for the wrong year?
Chris Brack,
that was the you know what I mean? So,
Chris Brack gave us the wrong information.
Gave us the wrong answers.
Yeah. But look, as I said, anything else before we go though, Davo?
No.
You happy?
All good. I'm very, very grateful that we're done in the hour, Gav.
No problem at all, but I always look after you. But look, as I said, it's a quiz tomorrow night. You will get a link. You will be able to play on your phone, and we'll have a good bit of laugh. When the international break comes around, it's hard to put out content when Liverpool aren't playing, because just people will come on and just keep talking about fucking players and injuries and the transfer window from 2 months ago, and it just doesn't interest us. We will come on. We will do like quizzes, drafts, whatever we can think of, just to keep us entertained and out of trouble, and you entertained and out of trouble too. That has been Winners and Losers from the LFC Daytrippers. Thanks a million to Matt. Thanks a million to Davo. I've been Gav. The chat has been excellent. Talk to you in a bit. Over now.